Cameron. How are you today?
I'm good, Mike. How are you doing?
I'm doing really good. I'm pretty stoked that we're sitting here doing the third podcast of Drinkful and Descend, a fanatical analysis of Twin Peaks.
Yeah, we're really getting into it now, moving into episode 5 and forward. And I'm looking forward to catching up with the air dates here, which is our plan.
Yep.
New episode on Sunday. And
that's going to be exciting. This is an episode
Indeed.
that a lot of the fans have been really waiting for a lot. We had our 2-week break.
Yeah, after episode 8, we get a week off.
We have 2 more days to wait until we can see it. So just to let everybody know what we're up to now, we've done 2 podcasts already. This is our third. The first one we've done, we hope you will take a listen to if you haven't already. That will catch you up to the return.
Right.
Because in that first one, we discussed everything from the original show, all the publications, and Fire Walk With Me.
Right. The first one's sort of like a preface, and then we went on to another long podcast of episodes 1 through 4.
Right. And then we're analyzing the return and getting into everything from those first 4 episodes.
And so everyone knows, we've seen through episode 8. We have the full intention of trying to talk about episode 5 without bringing anything in from later. Same with 6 and so on. That being said, we might not be always absolutely perfect, right? So if you're super, super paranoid about spoilers, maybe a note of caution. But we're certainly going to do our best, right? So, I mean, if there's anything that slips in here when we're talking about episode 5 that happens a little later, you could be confident that it would at least be something minor, something in the editing process we don't think is really a big spoiler.
Right. So ideally, anybody listening right now has seen up through episode 8. But if you have not, then you're going to have the opportunity to stop our podcast because we'll announce the episode numbers we're going through.
Absolutely. That's the plan.
Great.
All right. Should we get into it?
We
Episode 5.
We should. Yes, episode 5 is what we're going to start with right now. And let me just say, we're really getting into the meat and potatoes of something amazing here now. So we come back to episode 5 after seeing what we've seen in 4.
And we start in
Vegas,
right?
Yeah. And so what's the first thing that we come across in Vegas is Lorraine, actually, character of Lorraine.
Right. So there's this woman named Lorraine. And, you know, there are a lot of new characters that are showing up here in the return, and a lot of new names to try to get on top of. So to remind people, if they're not immediately connecting who Lorraine is, she's basically this woman who is in the office, and in the scene she's talking to this guy, Gene, who's supposed to kill Dougie, right? And she's mad because they failed to kill Dougie.
There have been a couple attempts, actually, at this point, right?
I think just the one when he was leaving the subdivision.
With the sniper.
Although I guess they did also put the bomb on his car, so maybe that's kind of 2 failures, right? Because they thought, oh, he's still inside. But of course, Jade gives 2 rides, so the bomb's still there on the bottom of his car at this point, and they've sort of flubbed things. And Lorraine's freaking out about this, right?
Yeah. So what's interesting is that she places a call. Right, or a text message, actually.
Yeah, it looks like in the shot of her phone that the recipient of the message is Argent. Is that how you read this?
Yeah, at first I did, yes. So this changes as we go forward into the next couple episodes. But I thought, what does Argent mean? Is that the recipient, or is that just actually in the upper left corner of the screen some fake cell company or something? But
yeah,
it's
that
just
was
the
a little
number
unclear.
2.
But yeah, it seemed like her whole message was just the number 2. And then we jump to a shot of this little black box. I mean, it looks a lot like a smartphone. And it just, goes beep, beep. Right?
So she texts the number 2 to it, and we see the black box has 2 lights on it, and it beeps twice.
Yeah.
So we don't know if this is her actually triggering some sort of code through that box.
Yeah, I don't know. It's too
or, in fact, what the heck that box is at all.
No, not really.
We don't really know.
I had the thought, is does 2 mean time to go to plan B or something?
Yeah.
But it's weird because she's so freaked out here when she's talking to Gene. She even says, "Are you trying to kill me?" or something like that, right?
Yeah.
Because she's been tasked with this responsibility. And, one of the things we maybe didn't hit on as much as we could have even last time is this question: who is trying to kill Dougie and why?
And why is the big question, right?
Yeah.
And this has to do with Dougie's previous life we didn't really get to see before the element of possibly having Cooper or part of Cooper inside of Dougie.
Right, and we know that Dougie has these debts or whatever, right? That's come up when Janie is happy about the money, even in episode 4. So you might be thinking at this point something related to that. I had the thought kind of from the beginning that maybe it was part of Mr. C's plan or something. but it's really not entirely clear. But they're pretty serious about it because Lorraine's freaked out.
So, and one other thing about this character of Lorraine is that she has kind of a musical theme that comes along with her, right?
Yeah.
So we get this strange kind of hip-hop beat that seems very modern and kind of upbeat compared to what she's dealing with, right?
Well, you're right about the music. It has an odd feeling, like almost like it belongs in a club, right?
Yeah, just something to consider as I was watching that, and it was pointed out to me, hey, what's with that music? And I was thinking, okay, yeah, it's not quite as befitting. It's not the classical music you would write as a theme for a character.
Odd. Lorraine also seems to, if you watch really, really closely, there seems to be something kind of weird on the wall there. Did you notice this?
No. What'd you see?
I don't know what it is. It almost looks like a hole covered with cardboard or something. It's just an odd little visual feature, and I don't have anything more to say about it. Really.
I see. But we know she's completely stressed out, and we know that she's involved with this basically attempted assassination. And we know that she's a person making some calls, and although there's some authority above her, she's got like these henchmen that work for her kind of deal.
Right.
Yeah.
At least one of them I know is named Gene.
Gene, exactly.
They drive that muscle car, the red muscle car.
Yeah,
right?
exactly. Yeah. Okay, so moving along from there, the next thing we see is the coroner, right? What's the coroner's name? Constance? Our funny coroner who has these like jokes that go along with the macabre.
Right, and she's talking about the body. This is another thing that we went through so much in our last podcast, we might not have stopped and dwelled with a couple of these questions, but we've got Ruth Davenport's head and this unidentified male body. Now, of course, one question is, where's Ruth's body?
Right.
And then where's the head, and whose body is missing a head? Right. But we're told here, as I recall, right, that she found a wedding ring in the body's stomach, right?
Right, inside the body. And the wedding ring, of course, has an inscription on it that's from Janie E.
Yeah, and this is very weird.
Yes, so we are thinking this is Dougie's wedding ring that's inside of it.
Yeah, I think basically. It says, to Dougie with love from Janie E. or something like that. So this seems to be Dougie's wedding ring. Of course, when we saw him before, he was wearing the owl ring or the jade ring on his wedding ring finger, left ring finger. But part of the weirdness here we should note is that this is in Buckhorn, South Dakota, and by all the lights, Dougie lives in Las Vegas.
Yep, so there's a lot of questions that brings up.
Yeah.
Is like you said, we've already seen him wearing the ring. How did the rings switch? And how did, of course, did the characters switch? Yeah, and
how did this ring end up in this body in South Dakota? Of course, we know that Mr. C has some involvement, apparently, with this murder in South Dakota. We saw him, killing Phyllis and everything. So that there's at least that little connection we can make here.
Right. What's interesting about that is that also when they're talking to Bill in prison about who he's murdered, the entire conversation is about the head that's discovered, right? It's never mentioned that he possibly killed two people.
Yeah.
His prints are all over that apartment. They say, oh, you killed somebody. Do you know who it is? His secretary. But they're not asking him any questions about the possible second body in there.
Right. I don't even think they ask him about the body that we see.
Right.
So, they're still trying to identify that. They're running the prints on it. But the search was blocked, right? Like a military classified access block at this point, right?
Correct. Yes. So the plot thickens there, and we're hoping to find out more. So from this, we're carried away to the creepy Mr. C in prison.
Right. He says food is coming.
Yep. He's got this predictive, he's either psychic or all-knowing or something. Possibly not all-knowing, but he predicts. He says the food is coming. Does he say even in a minute or whatever, and he pinpoints the amount of time?
I think it's at least before the door opens or anything like that. Now, of course, you mentioned a minute. I don't think he says that here, but if you do recall in the last episode of the original run, there's a point where Cooper, good Cooper, right? The Cooper we know, says the
Margaret Lanterman will be here
the log
in 1
lady
minute.
will be here in 1 minute.
Yeah.
So even good Coop,
Yeah.
original Coop, seemed to have some weird kind of predictive powers.
Yeah, so there's this prescience with him that we've discussed, how much of our good Coop that we recognized from before is inside Mr. C.
Right.
Is this a completely different entity?
We also
Is this Bob still, or,
Well, he looks in the mirror.
So, yes, this is the scene where we see that he's looking in the mirror, yes.
And that image was really striking. Do you have any thoughts about that?
I think that was one of the scarier moments that I've seen so far in the series. It's very simple, and it's so elegantly done. We see Mr. C looking in the mirror, and you see a slight manipulation. This is some CGI work.
I was thinking about that as something that is kind of enabled by the advancements of technology.
Exactly.
Right? You could not have done this in 1990.
Exactly. But it's slow. The transition of it is slow, and it's smooth, so that you really kind of have to be looking to be aware of what's happening.
But so much creepier then. I mean, the parallel would be those shots from the original series with, Bob in the mirror and Leland looking in the mirror and things like that.
And then it's just overlays of video and opacity levels, Whereas in this new one, when he's looking in the mirror, they're actually, compositing and
the faces,
drawing the faces together.
This is way creepier.
It's he's morphing into Bob's face in the mirror.
Yeah, I really thought.
And he
about
says
that.
something like, "Good, you're still with me."
Yeah, you're still with me.
Yeah,
which does seem to indicate to me that there are sort of two beings at play here. Right.
And is this Cooper saying, "Good, Bob is still with me," or is this Bob saying to Cooper and stuck in there? So we don't know who are the two voices now.
Yeah, the directionality, who's in control, like I said, is a question. Yeah.
And then after this, of course, I think we also see a flashback that takes us to the Red Room, don't we? Or
with Bob and Cooper in the Red Room.
Yeah, where we see the actual head smash in the mirror.
Yeah, all of that stuff.
And so it shows us that again, just to drive
reminding
home
us
the
of all
point.
these things,
Yes.
Yeah.
Answering the question. Anybody saying, "Oh man, is this still Bob inside there?" Well, here's our answer, right? Yes, this is Bob inside of Mr. C.
Yeah, but I think also reminding us that there is this, there are two beings at play, right? That it's not, that it would be sort of too simple to just read it simply and only as Bob, right? But yeah, man, that shot in the mirror.
I thought it was eerie. There's a nice soundscape going on that's right there. It's one of those disturbing things that I like its simplicity. And like I said, you have to be quite aware to kind of see what's happening, because there's something disturbing in, if you blink, you'll miss what's really happening.
Oh, yeah. If you weren't paying close attention to that shot, you might not have even noticed because of the subtlety of how they kind of blend in Frank Silva's features here.
Yeah.
But really cool.
And also just examining one's face, how the mouth is kind of pulling to one side, and there's just something unnatural about it, and something disconcerting, and it's in a very subtle way. It's that spooked me out a lot, I gotta say. Of course, after this, we get kind of a little balance into some humor, and we get another character from the original series. We get Mike, who used to be Bobby Briggs's friend.
Oh, yeah, I love this.
Only now he's grown up.
It's hilarious because it's just like a car dealership, right?
Uh-huh.
And we cut to Mike and him saying, like, "Could you call Steven in?" So Mike's the boss.
Yeah, Mike's the boss. He's wearing a suit.
Yeah.
And he's come full circle. Like we've seen Bobby, who is now, of course, working for the sheriff's office.
Yeah, I mean,
both of them end up 25 years later completely different than what you would have thought, which is very much like real life,
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was going to say. I don't know if it's completely different than I would have thought, because if you think about real life and people you knew in high school and so on, and if you see them 20, 25 years later, this is realistic that you get these shifts, that some guy who maybe seemed like a bit of a fuck up or something in high school is now responsible family man or whatever, right? So Mike seems to be doing good.
Yeah, I always thought that Mike, the last thing we saw Mike, just to refresh with that, is, his failed relationship with Nadine, who suddenly came out of being a high school student.
Right, yeah.
And we see Mike kind of sorrowfully like, "Oh, sorry, Big Ed, I guess I let it get out of hand."
Yeah, indeed.
And then I think of Bobby, Bobby Briggs actually killed a guy,
Yeah.
So... when I think about where they've ended up in this new series, I think, what the hell? Bobby's now a cop?
But I love that, even the point of this scene with Mike is him yelling at, or like giving a talking to this guy, Steven.
Yeah.
Like, get your act together.
Get your act together.
I wouldn't recommend you for any work, any place.
Yeah, and he calls him an asshole and he says, that this is the worst resume he's ever seen.
Yeah. After he leaves, I think, is when he calls him an asshole, not to his face. But still, I enjoyed that. And this guy, Steven, does kind of look to me like, I don't know what.
He looks a little bugged out. He's like on drugs or something. His tie's a little disheveled, and he's not quite, doing the right thing to get a job.
And like he has a mustache, but he's the kind of guy who shouldn't be trying to have a mustache.
Yeah.
Right?
Uh-huh.
Yeah. That was what I thought anyway.
Mm-hmm. But just also one of these moments that kind of links the original series to what's happening now.
Yeah.
Check out the time frame now. The one young person that used to be on the football team is now completely grown up, and there's a whole new generation of people trying to get jobs and trying to come to their own in Twin Peaks. Shortly, we're going to see Steven, whom we're seeing failing at a job interview now.
Right, we come to find out ultimately he is Shelley's daughter's husband, apparently. Right, I'm pulling on the credits a little bit there, I think. But if you recall the end of episode 2 when Shelley's talking about Becky.
Yeah, she just says my daughter's with the wrong guy, right? She doesn't elaborate whether it's boyfriend or husband at that point.
I think so, yeah. And her friends say everyone loves Steven. So it turns out this is the Steven, this guy in this interview with Mike. And it's a little later in the episode. Becky comes into the Double R and asks Shelley for money. And when she goes back out, she gets into the car with Steven. Now, in the credits, their last name is given for each, and it's Becky and Steven Burnett.
I see.
So this would seem to indicate that Becky and Steven are married, right? That she's not just his boyfriend. We still don't know what Shelley's last name is now, but presumably it's not the same as her daughter's boyfriend.
Yeah, and the thing missing, we don't know who Becky's father is. Also.
Exactly, we don't know who Becky's father is. Once you get that scene, so first of all, Steven's been looking for a job, but in the meantime, they're borrowing money from Shelley. It seems almost primarily so that they can do cocaine, right?
Right.
Because that's what we see in that scene, them doing cocaine. And then this really, really beautiful shot of Becky, played by Amanda Seyfried. That beautiful shot of her leaning back in the car, with I Love How You Love Me playing.
Yeah.
Right.
And of course, she's just taking a little hit of the cocaine, and she's enjoying herself. She's got this rush of a feeling comes over her.
Yeah.
But also just the act that we're seeing her looking up into the sky as they drive.
Yeah.
We're seeing a little bit of the blowing hair and the smile, the perfect smile, the quote-unquote, perfect young lady, blonde hair. Very reminiscent of Laura Palmer, right?
Reminiscent of Laura Palmer, but also you have Shelley and Norma kind of bonding about how Steven is not such a great fellow, right? And they say, we both know that song, right? So referring to Leo and Hank in this scene as well, and maybe some potential repetition there.
Right, so Becky's carrying on kind of this tradition of, being with the bad boy or something like that.
Something like that, right? But also, we might have thought about Laura.
In that scene, there's a couple other details. Norma actually gives Becky, I think, $72, and when she does, she says, "Here's $72. This is all I have."
Right.
So we don't know if that's all she has in her wallet, or how much is Shelley struggling. She's been working at the Double R for 25 years, and it's a small town diner kind of scenario. But we don't know how much she's actually struggling. We don't know.
Right. They seem to do pretty good business, but I would just speculate from, minimal experience in the service industry that in a diner like that, I would think $72 might be the tips Shelley got that day or something, right? Like a shift worth of work.
Another interesting thing that's in this scene is that when Becky gets in Steven's car, right?
Yeah.
And at first they're within sight of Norma and Shelley watching them, right?
Right.
And then they decide, let's get out of here to another spot.
Steven can tell that they don't really care for him very much, I think.
And so what's coming also is them doing drugs together and such. So he wants to get out of the shot. But one thing I noticed is that he throws the car into reverse, and wherever they end up, they never drive forward. He reverses the whole way to where they're parked and suddenly sitting. So the camera's on them in the car, so you don't see the outside world in comparison. But you see that he's gone in reverse. Maybe he's reversed all the way back around to the back of the diner.
Or just sort of around the corner.
Yeah, just something to think about with all the anything that's backwards or in reverse. Maybe is a hint at something.
Yeah, that's an interesting note.
So I thought, since he's driving backwards, is this a signifier somehow? Back to the Order, episode 5. We do go back to the sheriff's office. What we see in the sheriff's office is my favorite part of this is the scene between Doris and Frank.
Right, so we go to the sheriff's office, and Frank's talking to Harry on the phone first. Right, we keep getting these shout-outs to Harry, at least, which I appreciate. He's sick. But then his wife Doris comes in, just raving about, what was it again?
Well, there's a number of things that are
Right.
encapsulated in there. Basically, her father's car being fixed
Yeah.
and having to be on call to go give him a ride. And there's a leak somewhere, some leaking
Oh, yeah,
water.
the black mold, Frank.
And then there's black mold as well. Yeah,
or she's
so-
worried about black mold
She's-
from
oh,
the
right.
leaky pipe.
Yep.
Yeah, we're going to get that black mold.
So, yeah, just her reaction and his response, right? So there's something going on with her that he is more relaxed and he's caring and he's understanding, okay, this isn't just her giving me a hard time for no reason. But she does seem irrational in her concern and in her anger
Yeah.
and how she's kind of poking the finger at
I
him.
mean, part of what I loved about it is ultimately when she gets to the point of saying, you're impossible or whatever it is exactly.
Yeah.
The way it's done is sympathetic enough to her where, you might almost think she's right.
Yeah.
That he's the one who's being impossible. Maybe ranting and raving about the leaky pipe and things like that is more sane or something. It's a really well done little scene.
Yeah, I thought her performance in this is really excellent. There's got a bit of a humor to it too, but again, like a lot of things that we're discussing, there's this duality of it where, it's really funny to watch that, but then when you really think about what might be going on deeper, it's filled with sorrow. Okay, so then we jump to Dougie's house, which we know because it has a red door.
Right, and this is the first time we see Dougie now in episode 5. And it would seem time-wise to be right after the last thing we saw in episode 4.
Right.
Where he was drinking the coffee and spits out the coffee and has the tie on his head and all of that. Because Janie ties his tie for him now outside the house.
Right. Yeah, so another couple of the episodes kind of very smoothly fit into each other, and we pick up right where we left off, and this is one of them.
Right, and one of the things that I know we've talked about a little bit between each other is how slow time is going here in the narrative. So this is just the next day. We are, I would say, more or less on a pace of maybe about a day per episode, or right around there. It's not always entirely clear. And of course, it's not always clear that all of these events are in the precise same timeline. We should maybe be careful
That's
about
true.
that
It could
too,
be
right?
nonlinear, for sure.
We don't know for sure.
But they're showing everything is concise, and there's not a feeling. There's so much happening in this universe that you can't let too much time go by without telling us what's happened, because it's very complete.
Right, but I mean, part of why I think this has come up when we've been talking is we have all that stuff with the Buckhorn murders that we talked about last time, and when are we going to get back to Bill Hastings and all of that? Several episodes pass, yet if you pay attention to the amount of time passing in this narrative world, it's only been a couple of days. So maybe it makes sense that we haven't gone back to Bill Hastings quite yet, even though, for us maybe it's been a couple weeks with the episodes airing in the time of the world. Not so much.
Yeah. And there's a couple things that happen in this scene that are significant. One is the reminder that there's a debt owed, like $50,000 debt owed, and so Janie E is reminding Dougie, you're going to have to go pay these guys.
He's counted up, make sure to call them. She's counted up the money from his jackpots, and it's $425,000.
Right.
She said she hit it.
And so she went through, and you just picture her counting all that cash and, hiding it somewhere on the house. We also know that Dougie is still not really getting better. He's still letting the characters around him move him through the story. And we see his reactions to things. We see him repeating language that other people say. But he's not altogether a full human being character yet.
Yeah, and the thing that I thought was really striking in this scene is while Janie E is tying his tie, I think it is, he looks at Sonny Jim sitting in the back of the car, and it seems like he's about to start crying.
Yeah.
He kind of is crying.
You can see the emotion there.
Why? What's going on there that would make him sad? And looking at this kid, because it kind of just seems like Sonny Jim is just sitting there, right?
But we haven't seen too much from Sonny Jim either, right? We know that he missed his birthday the day before.
Yeah, but then they had those cute moments with the thumbs upping and
and the tie,
and the eating of the breakfast and everything. So then Janie E realizes that Dougie's car is missing, right? And she said, "Dougie, where's your car? Okay, I'll give you a ride."
Right.
And then we go from there to Dougie's car, which is still sitting there in that subdevelopment or whatever, right? Bombed up.
Right. And we know that the little kid has identified there's something underneath the car.
Right. And I don't think we talked about this last time either. The drugged out mother and the little boy,
Yeah.
which is, by the way, I believe how they are in the credits.
Okay.
So this is the woman who's always yelling 119. So we do see them again, but first we see our friend Jean, who's been talking to Lorraine, driving by to check on Dougie's car, right?
Right.
Because he's still supposed to be killing Dougie.
Still looking for him.
And this was one of the plans, was to blow him up in his car. So you have this kind of cool scene where Jean drives by in his muscle car and checks it out. And then you were talking about the footage here, about how it kind of loops.
Yeah, I mean, it feels like a loop. It's not a loop, but the camera pans and watches this one muscle car pass.
Yeah.
And that's Gene and his gang, right? And they're looking in. And then the muscle car goes around the corner. The camera pans back over to the right just in time to catch the black muscle car.
Yeah.
And this one has some crazy heavy metal music playing.
Crazy, hardcore.
It's all black, including like the rims and the wheels, the tires, or everything in there is custom. So we get the idea that this is the same thing happening, and it feels like a loop. The camera pans to watch the same thing happen with this car.
And another kind of duality. I mean, these muscle cars, I'm not sure what the make or model is of these cars, but they're very distinctive cars.
Yes.
I didn't see any identifying marks on them. Did you?
On the first one, I think it's just a standard whatever muscle car. It's like, it's a Caemeron or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is not car talk, so we're
Exactly,
actually
yeah.
unfamiliar with that. But the second one that comes around definitely is custom. It's completely painted out, tricked out black.
Right.
It looks like a stealth fighter. It looks like a spaceship or something.
Right. And when we see these guys originally, we don't really know who they are or what's going on, but then we come back around. It's actually a little later in the episode when we see the kid that we were talking about. He comes out and starts looking at the thing underneath the car, and these guys come back and they're like, get out of here, kid. And it becomes apparent that they're trying to steal Dougie's car. Right? The guy's got one of those things you put down the window.
Yep.
Whatever you call those
And they start
things.
to hotwire it.
Well, but basically, of course, as soon as he gets in and starts the car, it blows up. And these guys apparently die.
Yeah. And it's pretty graphic, too. They're burned alive. And I think it's kind of funny, too, because we see the kid is not only his curiosity is piqued by this device underneath the car. Before that, you see him across the street, like looking out the window at the car. And you kind of, if you're in his brain, you're thinking, what's that little thing I'm seeing underneath their car?
Yeah, I think he just
he
wants
goes out
to
and he's like,
see what it is.
He's actually messing with it, though. He starts to feel it and touch it, and you get the idea that maybe he's about to blow up because he's going to trigger it.
I'm not
or
an
something.
expert in car bombs, so I don't
Well,
know
also,
if you could blow it up
David
that way.
Lynch prop car bombs, or it has a red light and a switch on it. But the idea that he's messing with it, he's getting too close to it, and maybe these guys that came around and scare him off might have saved that little kid's life.
Potentially. And then when the car blows up, we're on the kid, right? That's what we're seeing.
Right.
We mentioned his drugged out mother, who has only said 119. Yeah, you have any thoughts about that?
There's a couple different interpretations I can take from that. One thing, of course, is that it's 911 backwards, like an emergency.
Yeah.
And she's in this reverse speak. She's reversed the numbers that she's calling out. There's an emergency, but it's her subconscious mind trying to call for help.
Yeah.
But she's so drugged up and she's not getting it. And she's, so reversing the numbers, it doesn't equal help me emergency.
That's kind of the leading theory in my mind at this point.
That's what it reminds me of. The other thing is there's this weird numerological thing happening already where we see, the differing numbers of the big outlet that Coop comes through. Of course, the significance of the number 7 that we keep seeing cropping up.
Right.
And of course, that there's tons of fans like us out there watching these things.
We're tracking all the numbers.
Yeah, trying
Little
to see,
personal note here,
is there
Mike.
any significance?
Little personal note here. This freaked me out. And this was the first time in the earlier episode.
Yeah.
When we see her and she starts yelling 119. In part because at one point in my life, that was my address. It was 119.
Yeah.
And also around that very same period in my life here in Manhattan, there used to be a bar called 119 on 15th Street. And so when she yells 119, I felt that connection to something in my own personal memory. That was a weird moment. Now, I mean, of course, the show's not just for me, so that's not the interpretation.
Sure.
But just, I thought I'd note something about how it can connect up weirdly with your life like that.
Yeah, I think that's something that'll probably we'll keep revisiting as we go, because there's this thing about synchronicities, right?
Yeah.
And I've come across this a few times just with numbers. It happens because you don't know if suddenly that number's appearing more, or if it's just coincidental,
Yeah,
or
are you just noticing
just
47
noticing it?
more?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Wow, I see the number 1 everywhere.
Yeah.
And of course, that's the first number, man. You're always going to see 1. Well, the little boy's wearing a red 1 on his shirt, by the way.
Yeah. Oh, and there's also a red balloon in the room on
Right.
that scene that people have pointed out.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing more to say about it, but it's there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I like the idea of this kind of synchronicity thing that happens with their own lives identifying into these kind of projects, because, at its, what he's defined here is a mystery, and it's a mystery that can affect you in your life, even though it's just fiction. So I kind of like jumping down the rabbit hole once in a while, especially if there's like a personal attachment story to it.
Yeah, so let's talk about Dougie at work. We go back to Dougie.
Yeah, the work plaza, and the plaza outside of his work specifically. So here's where we see Janie E dropping him off for work. A couple things stood out to me right away. Is that it's again mirroring Jade and Dougie. So there's the scene when Jade drops Dougie off to the casino. Now we have Janie E dropping Dougie off to work. In both scenarios, Jade and Janie have to take his seatbelt off and kind of nudge him out
Open
the
the door for him.
And both of them say, you can get out now, Dougie,
Yeah.
which actually is copying what Laura Palmer tells him from the lodge.
Yeah.
So we have these echoes happening of things that he's heard already.
Yeah, these repetitions.
And with the J.A. name, like Jade and Janie, and the fact that they're both women in his life, that brings up this parallel as to, what's going on. Is there a duality here between characters, or how coincidental is this?
And giving a ride, right? But then he becomes fascinated with this statue.
Yes, we see the statue that's some figure that's pointing a gun, a handgun.
Yeah, really not clear if it's just some generic cowboy or something like that. I did see some people online speculating that it looked like David Bowie from The Man Who Fell to Earth. And I don't know how far we want to go down that little
that
rabbit hole.
Could be a long rabbit hole.
Yeah,
Course, but...
well, I don't know if it's a rabbit hole so much as there's not really a whole lot of evidence,
Well, even without knowing who it is, okay. So my impression is it's some sort of officer of the law. He's a lawman
For sure,
and it's the Wild West kind of lawman, as the Wild West is, becoming modernized. So he's not a cowboy, but he's somewhere in there where he's like a Western law authority, and he's got the handgun. So there's a lot of imagery there that Cooper would want to associate with, like his fascination with the badge or whatever.
Right. Yeah, I guess I meant cowboy in the broad sense, if you like.
Right. But he's
whatever.
he's also got this very noble. He's pointing his weapon, but
which,
there's this noble thing to the statue.
And Dougie mimics that pointing of the gun.
And then there's also just the idea in general of a humanoid statue. So this is kind of again like the story of the Golem or something. It's like a humanoid made, manufactured human, like Philip Gerard has called Dougie once, already.
Right, the original Dougie.
The original Dougie.
Now we're talking about Dougie Coop, just to be clear.
Yep.
Who, as you said before, does seem to have something of a charmed existence, right? I mean, and this isn't as serious as avoiding death, but this guy Phil shows up with the coffees and leads Dougie up to his office.
Yeah, he's lost in the lobby. He's not going to be able to make it
He has no
upstairs.
idea what he's doing until Phil with the coffee is like, "Oh, Dougie, I didn't know you'd be back." And he just is kind of following this guy with the coffee, and of course he's magnetically attracted to the coffee itself.
Yeah, he doesn't listen to this guy. He smells the coffee, and he's follow the coffee.
But this ends up leading him to where he's supposed to be.
Right.
Yeah. And I love that that scene where he's drinking the coffee in the elevator.
Yeah.
Just the
That's
look on his
fantastic.
face.
Yeah, and he's got the two hands on it, and he's really relishing it. And
damn good Joe.
Yeah, and he says, damn good Joe, huh, Dougie?
Yeah.
So maybe let's pause here and take a second. I'd like to talk about coffee and Twin Peaks in general. So
Okay, let's do that.
This might be a good time to do that. I think that, first of all, coffee is very important.
Clearly.
We're introduced in town in Twin Peaks. One of the questions when you're visiting a town in that area is, where is the good coffee? And the Double R will have it for you ready. When Coop shows up and we see the coffee is kind of a ritual around the sheriff's office, and Coop and all the other lawmen join in.
Right, in contrast to, Deer Meadow in Fire Walk with Me,
Yes,
where that whole town is kind of the mirror image of Twin Peaks, the dark, bad Twin Peaks almost, right? Where when they go to the sheriff's office there, and ask for coffee, they tell some joke about it being a couple days old, and also at the Fat Trout trailer park, when Carl Rod gives them a couple of cups of Good Morning America, it seems like that's real strong
That
and maybe
seemed
not so
very
good
strong.
coffee.
Yeah.
So yeah, not just the repetition of coffee, but a question about its quality, and that may be indicating something. And
Correct. And in this scene, there's kind of a statement about that, about the 8 coffees that come in.
Yeah.
Dougie gets Frank's coffee, and the other
Right.
guy says, Frank usually doesn't even drink it, right? And then we see that Frank's disappointed that his coffee was given away.
Yeah, because you can see Dougie drinking from a coffee cup that has Frank written on it.
Yes.
Right.
Which also brings up, the modernization of coffee is now
Yeah.
being manufactured by Starbucks and these other companies, and they write your name on the cup because they're making so much of it.
Right. So Phil gives Frank this green tea latte,
Green tea latte.
instead.
Yeah.
Right.
Which at first he's like, oh, I've been snubbed, and
He's
feels
skeptical.
bad. But he takes a sip, he takes another sip, we cut away, right? And
Yeah.
it comes back to him, and he seems maybe pretty pleased with the green tea latte.
Yeah, he does. He has a big smile on his face.
Yeah.
And trying to read into this symbology of coffee, I don't know.
Yeah.
Does it say something about Frank that he enjoys the green tea latte?
Mm-hmm.
If it does say something, what does it say?
Right.
I don't know, but I think the coffee in general is a really good example of what I think of as a kind of floating signifier in Lynch's
Sure.
work. There's significance here. What is the significance?
Mm-hmm.
Hard to, interpret or put into words. At the same time, if you are addicted to coffee like I am, this one makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, coffee,
Well,
good coffee. Yeah.
Yep, it is a stimulant. It is a drug. It is a mind-altering substance. The other thing I think throughout the Twin Peaks phenomenon, even from the original series, I always kind of thought of the link between coffee and scorched engine oil, right?
There's that
So
similarity,
there's this black substance. It's dark black liquid. There is a part, is this in Fire Walk with Me even, where we see a cup of coffee poured out, but it's thick like the oil is.
I think it's in the season 2 finale.
Season
but
2 finale? Okay.
It's in the Red Room for sure. That's what you're thinking of. And yeah,
Right.
where the coffee goes from these different states, right? At one point it's solid, I think, basically. And then at one point it's just coffee. And then the middle point is it being this sort of thicker thing. Yeah, maybe like the scorched engine oil. So maybe that's not really engine oil. Maybe it's just really, really bad coffee.
Yeah. Or vice versa. That there's something about the scorched engine oil that exists in every cup of Joe or something.
I don't know, maybe.
But I've always been fascinated by the link there. And just to see that not only is coffee back in a major way in the return, but it seems like it's linked a couple times to these epiphanies that Coop is having. When he first drinks it, he doesn't know it's hot. Janie E serves it to him, and he's kind of like messing with his pancakes, like whatever, a pancake, But then he gets the coffee, and he smells it, and then like he goes to drink it, he burns himself,
Yeah.
and then he speaks, and he says hi to her.
Yeah.
And in that moment, I thought, oh my gosh, the coffee is making him come back.
Well, and in contrast, Mr. C does not seem to drink coffee.
Yes,
That we've
true.
seen so far. So
Right.
maybe it's part of the good Cooper is the love of coffee.
Yeah,
So
that could
coffee's on the side of the good. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like that.
So, and I love that him following the coffee is how he finds his way in that scene to come back to be able to say hi, and also how he finds his way up to his job, you know? So I'm wondering, how related coffee is going to be to, if we end up getting Cooper back or not,
Yeah. So then maybe the important bit of that scene is when he calls out his coworker Tony for being a liar.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Again, you get some kind of metaphysical help, it seems here, with the... How do you want to describe that? A light of some kind? Or
Yeah, there's like this greenish light that's on his face, and then he calls him out, and we have previously seen that at the casino.
Right,
So
but this
we
is a little
know
different.
A little bit different than the light we saw, but we do know that there's this luminance that is kind of guiding Dougie, that he's witnessing things that other people can't seem to see.
And we should maybe note that this guy, Tony, is the same coworker who, when Dougie first walks in, says that he's been covering for him.
Yeah, it says, welcome back from Bendersville, which
Yeah.
is funny, but also implies, like, okay, so they had a previous relationship, and he knew that real Dougie was out on some bender.
Right, he said, you seem to have lost weight. You've been drinking in the sauna or something like that.
Yeah. And he says he's going to cover for him, so it also sets up this thing that, okay, they were in cahoots together, covering for each other.
Well, they're kind of chums,
Yeah.
but now Dougie just calls him out for being a liar. about an insurance case or claim about arson, right? Tony's saying, no, it wasn't arson. We're going to have to pay this claim.
Mm-hmm.
And Dougie says he's lying. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because
And
of the light thing, I guess.
Tony even goes in to say it's legit. You know, he's
Yeah.
trying to point out, it seems like he's going awfully far in trying to convince, hey, no,
Right.
we need to pay these people.
Because their boss, Bushnell, thinks it was arson. And Tony's saying, oh, no, it's legit. Not arson. Definitely not.
But this is a really great scene, too. So when Dougie says, he's lying, it's the only thing he says. It's the only thing any of them in this scene have heard him say.
Right.
He's just kind of bumbling along, doesn't know where to sit and all this other stuff until he's there. And then even after he says it, he does not respond when, Tony says, wait, what did you say? And Tony kind of talks himself into...
You calling me a liar?
Yeah.
Yeah. And Bushnell...
Where do you get off and
the
all
boss says something like, you better have some evidence. You're calling out my best agent, something like that. And then he ends up calling Dougie into his office and so on, right? And it tells him to take these case files home. Mm-hmm. And this is another moment of Dougie Cooper repeating things people say, right? He says case files. Mm-hmm. So he's an agent at an insurance company.
Yeah, from special agent
Right.
for the FBI to an insurance agent.
He's mimicking the gun pointing of the statue.
Correct.
And now he repeats case files.
Yes.
Right. Yeah.
So we think he's subtly piecing himself back together somehow. Even
Yeah, it kind of
subconsciously.
seems like these little things are, hitting off lights in his mind or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, of course, he repeats other things like call for help and home and all of those types of things as well. But these ones, right, his particular fascination with some of these things that seem directly related to the Cooper we know and love,
Right.
being an agent, case files, and so on. Yeah.
And I also love that he's stunted in his thinking, even for basic, biological things, like he doesn't know how to urinate. Right.
Yeah.
So we catch him right after this scene, actually, in the hallway, and he's got his case files on the floor that he's dropped.
Right.
In a completely hilarious moment where he's grabbing his crotch and like trying to stop himself from peeing his pants, doing the pee-pee dance, basically.
Yeah, and there's something about that. I seem to recall, I meant to check this out before we sat down today, and I didn't. I apologize. I seem to recall something from very early in the original series of Special Agent Dale Cooper saying to Harry something like, I really have to urinate, right? Just, I'll be right there, but I really have to urinate.
Yes,
So,
I remember that.
You
Something
remember that?
about
Yeah.
the coffee intake going along with that.
So, and I don't know, I'm just wondering about this now seeming running thing about really needing to take a pee. Bobby, too, in the earlier
Says
episode.
my back teeth are floating or something.
Yeah, exactly. So how do we, what is this signifying, if anything? It's definitely, again, one of these things that we're seeing repeating,
Yes.
right?
But it's also the path. I mean, it's not urine from nowhere. It's the path of what they're drinking, right? It's the coffee
Well, and part of
having
what,
been filtered by their body. I mean,
right, I mean, part of what I love about this, actually, Mike, is that how often in a TV show do you see someone go to the bathroom because they have to go to the bathroom, not because something else is going to happen in the bathroom or whatever, right? So I used to always joke about that show 24. It's supposed to be in real time, but Jack Bauer is superhuman. He never needs to eat or pee. Right. I mean, if it were realistic, he'd stop and be like, well, I need to pee because I drank that Red Bull. You know? But like it never happens. It's just always, so.
Right. And they wake up every morning with their hair done and makeup on.
Yeah, exactly.
I got it.
Yeah.
Okay, so funny hallway scene. Somebody in the office actually lets him into the women's restroom thinking he's standing there because the men's room is locked or something.
Maybe it was. I don't know.
And we don't know.
Or we also don't know what he did for the rest of the day. Right. We see him in that meeting. We see him go to the bathroom.
Yeah, I think I got the hint that at the end of the day, that was pretty close to the rest of the day, possibly. He might have gone out right after that and just stared at that statue the rest of the day. Because we do pick up on him there in a bit.
Maybe his fascination with the statue, which is ultimately when we return to him again, that's what he's doing, right? In this episode, even that's where we end.
Correct.
Right. So to just kind of tie that up into a bow with Dougie, where we go next is back to the casino, right? To see some of the consequences of the adventures of Mr. Jackpots.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yep. So Silver Mustang Casino.
Mm-hmm.
And in here we're seeing the pit boss, actually, who's kind of going through the video footage of Dougie winning.
Right.
right? And it's, the bosses come in and they ask him again, how much did this guy win? And he
Yeah.
tells them $425,000, and they say something along the lines of, and you're going to tell us you're not in on this?
Well, right. So if you think about it, there is something weird here. It couldn't just be that Dougie Coop was getting guidance that this machine, that machine is ready to give a jackpot, right? The sort of metaphysical interference has to go a bit further than that. Because if 30 machines were primed to give those jackpots, then anyone might have happened to hit them. So from the perspective of, the bosses who are now coming in, the brothers Mitchum, right, played by Jim Belushi and Robert Nepper,
Okay.
whose face you probably recognize at least, if not his name.
Mm-hmm.
They're the ones who are coming in and now grilling and beating up the casino manager. And there's some humor in this scene, but my favorite thing was Candy, Mandy, and Sandy, the women.
The
in the background.
pink-clad ladies that are...
What did you think about that?
Vegas showgirls or something. Well, I got the impression that this is the Vegas gangsters, right? And these are their malls or something. But at the same time, you see the bad guys, more or less for a better term, that are the money guys in Vegas. And they have these ladies that are attractive dancers that they take around with them.
Yeah.
But the thing that impressed me most was kind of their apathy about what was going on. They were witnessing him beating somebody up that might be somebody they know that they were working with. It's the pit boss of the casino, basically. Yeah. And they're just kind of like sitting there bored while this is happening.
One of them is kind of caressing the other's hand, if you notice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And one of them is doing the rehearsing something maybe of the motion of her hand.
Yeah.
As she's supposed to be dancing later or whatever it is.
They're just...
this reminds me of a couple things. I think this is something that comes out in a lot of other Lynch projects. It reminds me of the lady dancing on the car in Blue Velvet while Frank Booth is going at, Kyle MacLachlan in that one. There's also something to be reminded of in Mulholland Drive with these kind of
that's what I was going to say.
Well, in my case, I'm thinking of Jim Belushi, for example, and where you get the bad guy, tough guy that's in a suit that shows up, doesn't say much, but says one or two lines that freak you out.
I was thinking of the "This Is the Girl" scene, the audition scene, just something stylistically. I felt some resonance.
Yeah,
with
where they're
Candy,
talking about
Mandy,
business, but somehow it's played out with this. There's a lot on the line, and these guys are they're ready to murder over who we're going to choose to cast in this movie.
Right, exactly.
Same thing here. I got the feeling of it's like I think in some way it's Lynch saying, "Oh yeah, this is the official capacity business."
Yeah,
but these people are sociopaths.
Yeah.
So,
and we get their names in the credits again. Both of
and they're brothers too, right? Yeah.
Apparently they're brothers.
Mitchum.
Yeah. The last name of each is Mitchum.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. So the other thing that happens in this scene is, of course, the pit boss' life is threatened. He's told by Jim Belushi to leave and to never come back. So he's excommunicated from their church at this point. They think that he's in on this, and he's lucky to get away with his life.
Yeah.
In the meantime, they point to another guy standing in the room and say, "You're taking his job now."
Next man up.
Yep. And you can tell this guy's like, "Oh shit, now I'm going to be the one."
Well, and he seems green behind the ears or whatever. I mean, was he the assistant manager?
Yeah.
Probably.
Yeah.
He seems like he's in line with the joys of middle management. So he's promoted. Good for him. Yeah.
Yeah. But it comes with some fear. He knows who he's working for.
Yeah.
So,
exactly.
How much are these going to be kind of bad guy figures moving forward? Are we going to see more of this? We don't know.
I mean, given the caliber of the actors involved here, you would presume, right?
Well, there's no presumptions at this point for me at this
true.
show.
I mean, it does seem like you look at that cast list and you have all of these big names or recognizable names at least. And,
yes.
And yeah, it does seem like some of them might be very minor roles. So we don't know for sure.
Right.
Fair point.
Mm-hmm. So we jump from this, I believe, and then we see the car explosion, which we've talked about.
Right.
From the guys in the black car.
Right. And then we go to another car, which is Jade, who's
Jade
getting
at the
her
car
washed,
yes.
I think. And the guy has found Cooper's hotel key.
Yeah, this is pretty interesting. So it's room 315.
Yeah.
He finds the key, and then Jade goes and puts it in the mailbox, and presumably it'll just get mailed back to the hotel, to the Great Northern.
Right, it's got the address on the back. I thought this was a kind of cool way of trying to start letting the world know about Dougie Cooper.
Yeah.
Right, with this hotel key,
Mm-hmm.
this little clue.
Mm-hmm.
She's going to drop it in the mailbox.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Right. I like that as a link.
Right.
Right.
And that'll come up again, when it actually gets to the Great Northern.
Right. Presumably it'll get to the Great Northern and yeah. So someone we know will find out about it, one presumes, right? Because we know Ben Horn's still running the Great Northern at this point and so on.
Right.
So, yeah.
Another thing is, I don't know if it's just a minor detail not worth mentioning, but in this scene we also see that the guy working for the car wash says something to Jade along the lines of like, another John left this key or whatever he said in that moment that triggered me to believe, okay, the guy at the car wash knows that Jade is a prostitute.
Right. He says, you have a John in Washington?
Yeah.
Something like that?
Yeah. And so that brings up, why would the guy at the car wash know this? And is there like some car wash prostitution ring or something?
Well,
or...
maybe she's just a confident sex worker,
Yeah, that could be it as well.
It was just known.
Yeah.
They're friendly.
Yeah.
She has no shame about it.
But, I mean, how often is she washing her Jeep? That she's in there all the time that he knows
given
her?
that she's a sex worker, it might be pretty often.
Well, you never know.
If she ever does business in the Jeep.
Yeah, well.
Who knows?
Who knows that one? Okay, so the car wash scene is fascinating. We're going to see where that key goes. All right, so then we end up back in the sheriff's office, and we have Hawk and Andy together.
And they can't find any Indians.
They can't find any Indians. Andy says to him, have you found any Indians?
No.
No, he hasn't.
And, what I love about this scene is we just gave you the scene.
Yeah.
But it's way longer than that.
Yeah.
I love how long it is, all these shots of them looking through these files, and that pacing is an important part of it. But
Sure.
Basically the whole point is they're looking for what's missing. All right, you have the clue that has something to do with Hawk's heritage, and we're just checking in, basically, and they haven't found anything yet.
Yep, and this is also Andy just saying Indians, of course, which brings up, the question of, what's proper. Hawk kind of like half rolls his eyes at Andy, even though it's not apparent, but you can see there's a little crease in his face where Hawk is like, okay, Andy, I get it.
Yeah.
You got to say what you got to say. But it does bring up the question, American Indian, Native American Indian, what's the proper term?
Mm-hmm.
And then if you're talking specifics, of course, it's Nez Perce,
Right.
And even Nez Perce, if you look up the history of that word, it means the people with the pierced nose,
Yeah.
So I just thought that was interesting to point out, where all in just that one statement from Andy, Frost and Lynch are evoking all of that, which comes to like the PC nature of describing something.
Right, and I don't know if how much I want to read into that. Potentially we could think maybe there's some kind of commentary, to the extent what I'm thinking is Andy uses the term Indian, which is maybe not PC, but we know Andy's, kind of got a pure heart, it would seem, as a character and what we know about Andy. So, don't get offended at Andy because it's Andy. He doesn't mean to offend you or something like that.
The main point of it is that it's to reinforce these characters that we love so much.
Yeah.
And it does reinforce that in Andy, but it also reinforces in Hawk not only his patience, but his understanding of the other characters that are here. His, basically that they're a team, and he's been dealing with Andy for years and years,
Yeah. Andy's going to Andy.
Andy's got a Andy. So, but Hawk's got a Hawk.
Yeah, indeed.
So, so fun scene. Where do we go next? What's the next thing we see?
Well, we're finally going to find out what Dr. Jacoby was doing with those shovels.
Oh, yes, Dr. Jacoby. It's 7 o'clock. Do you know where your freedom's at, right?
Yeah.
So this is a wonderful scene. This is one of my favorite scenes actually so far as well.
Fucks are at it again.
The fucks are at it again. And damn it, as a viewer of this show, I agree.
Good. Yeah, it was so good. I mean, the play on this kind of Alex Jones type or something like that. The global corporate conspiracy and the poison in your food.
Yeah,
and all of
you're
that,
your own news network, just broadcasting on the internet.
And of course we see a couple of our Twin Peaks residents watching this podcast.
Yeah, so Jerry Horn and Nadine are both tuning in, and we wonder. It makes you wonder: does Jerry Horn and Nadine both have like a golden shovel hanging in their garage or whatever?
I don't know. To me, it struck me like Jerry's the kind of guy who thinks this is something funny to watch while he's getting stoned, because he's sitting there getting ready to light up a joint. You know? And whereas Nadine seemed more into it in a more genuine way. I don't know. We just get kind of quick check-ins with them as they are listening to or watching. Well, we should also notice, the equipment, Jacoby's equipment, right? that kind of mix of the old and the new here.
Mm-hmm.
He's clearly got some kind of webcam situation going on that he's using, right?
Yeah.
He's got computer technology, but then he's also got, a crank that he's turning and things like that.
Yeah, his teleprompter is a notepad.
Yeah.
But I love the things that he's making. Besides the golden shovel, right, he also has the cosmic flashlight.
I've got one.
Yeah.
And he points it right into the camera lens.
That's great.
This whole scene, I've watched this more times even than the whole episode just because I find it so entertaining.
Yeah.
And then in particular, though, the way that this big rant about global corporate conspiracies and poisons in your food and everything, ultimately it ends up just seems to be sort of a preamble for trying to sell golden shovels.
Yeah. Right. And I think that, yeah, exactly. So, and this is, the commentary on, like you said, the Alex Jones figure, somebody that's out there that's making something to try to stir somebody up. But really, at the end of the day, it's about the ads that he has for selling whatever is on this site.
So you need your golden shovel, 2 coats, guaranteed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Dig your way out of the shit.
Yep.
And into the truth.
He's made a pre-recording that he can trigger. That's his little commercial about it, where there's a cutscene from him buried into the shit, and where it shows him standing on level ground.
Yeah.
And the golden shovel is what let him.
I was really tempted at the end of that. This, old school kind of looking thing comes up that gives you an address to which you're supposed to send your $29.95 plus shipping and handling to get your golden shovel. And I was really tempted to put a check in the mail just to see what happens. Now, I mean, of course, Twin Peaks, Washington is not a real place.
Yeah.
But, I was thinking about pulling the zip code from the filming location and, how do you say this? Snoqualmie, I think it is.
Snoqualmie, yeah.
Am I getting that right?
Washington, yeah.
One of those things I've mostly read and not said, you
Yeah.
know. I thought about just throwing that zip code on there and seeing what happens.
Mm-hmm.
If anyone out there listening actually did that because you're just a step crazier than me, please let us know your results.
Well, I actually had this thought, and I took the thought far enough to think, wait, if you add the cost of a shovel with a can, even one can of golden spray paint, you're easily at $35 already.
Yeah.
So it doesn't make sense to me that you can make money.
Okay, maybe not. Maybe you're... Well, but he's getting so many shovels. Maybe he's got a nice wholesale deal going on.
He buys them in mass. That's
I
true.
just wondered because sometimes you do see these types of tie-ins with TV shows and the like where, you'll get a phone number or you'll get a URL where there actually will be something there.
Yeah.
Right? And so I just found myself wondering, did Lynch and Frost go this insane step of giving us a post office box?
Yeah.
Where something would actually happen.
That would be great.
Right. My guess is no. My guess is if you did this, it would probably go nowhere. Your check would never be cashed or whatever. That's my guess. But I was curious because we do get a P.O. box, right?
But it says Twin Peaks, though, right?
It says Twin Peaks and no zip code.
And it's fun to think that, but I just imagine, like you're saying, it would be too much of a liability. Yeah. They would have had to do too much business work to finagle that. And
I'm sure it's probably not the case.
Percentage of people that really will pay that, yeah. But I do love kind of analyzing kind of what this might mean symbolically. So Dr. Jacoby, one thing that, Secret Histories has kind of pointed out to me, and also just from witnessing him throughout the original series, is that he does actually have a knack for psychology. He does help people. And so you've got to give him some credit that even though he's a little bit wild, maybe he knows what he's talking about. So I started thinking about the shovel and what's in this infomercial that he's pitching, right? And it's kind of got a parallel to Coop getting out of the Black Lodge, I think, because he's saying, shovel yourself out of the mud, out of the shit.
Out of the shit.
And so, thinking of it in that way, this shit is like sludge or mud or scorched engine oil, so, kind of brought me along that line of thinking that there's something to it, but that to do it, you needed a tool, and not just any tool, you needed a golden tool, so there's a couple things with that image that I thought to myself, okay, I'm going to put that in my back pocket and keep considering what a golden spade could represent in all of this. And we might see that just as a motif. I don't know. But it did remind me, like another character saying, oh, hey, you are stuck somewhere and you got to get out of that place.
That was a very cool scene.
Okay, so from being stuck ass deep in the shit all the way to the Pentagon is where we're jumping next. So we go from Jacoby to Arlington, Virginia, right?
Yeah, so Colonel Davis... right? is talking to a subordinate named Cindy about the fact that they've gotten another hit on Major Briggs's fingerprints. We might note here that we've got Colonel Davis, the character, and Major Briggs was played by Dawn Davis. Interesting.
Right.
But even more fascinating is that apparently it's indicated in the scene that they've gotten some 16 hits on Briggs's fingerprints.
16 hits in 25 years.
Over the past 25 years?
Yeah.
And so Colonel Davis tells Cindy that it's probably not going to be anything, but they have to go check it out anyway.
Yeah, it says if it's real, but it won't be.
Yeah.
But if it is real, then we're going to have to get the FBI
You have to
involved.
call the FBI. Yeah. So, get out to South Dakota, Cindy. And I don't think we get her last name at this point. We do get it later. So when we come back to her, I'll have the last name ready.
Correct. Right. Yeah. And so presumably Cindy hits the road for South Dakota, and we're going to see her there investigating what's going on there. But also the idea of Briggs coming back. We've seen Briggs's face flying through outer space, speaking the word Blue Rose.
Right.
And so, considering the fact that they're mentioning that they're going to have to reach out to the FBI, this tends to make me think that they're jumping into knowing it's a Blue Rose case.
Most likely. And also something about fingerprints, right? So to jump ahead a little bit, we'll come back to the music here presently. But first, to jump ahead, we do get the scene toward the end of the episode where Tammy is looking at Coop's fingerprints. And some other stuff pertaining to Coop.
Yeah.
We have this reference to Briggs's fingerprints here, and also recall back to Bill Hastings, right? The thing was that his fingerprints were all over Ruth's apartment.
And he confesses to his wife that he was dreaming of that.
Right. He said he had a dream of being there, but he wasn't actually there.
Right.
Well, if we're now learning that Briggs's fingerprints have been found some 16 times in the past 25 years.
Right.
Although Briggs himself is nowhere to be found and, I don't know, presumably dead. We've been thinking that, Mr. C killed him potentially 25 years ago. Right, given that scene with Bobby and so on in the earlier episode. Well, so if Briggs's fingerprints have been showing up at places like this, what might that lead us to think about? Hastings' fingerprints? What's going on with the fingerprints? You know? As a question to
and also tying to Cooper with knowing about Dougie's body, if he's inside Dougie's body, which is slightly different, but is recognizable by Dougie's wife. There is something there too, that even if they are the prints that were on that body, who was in the body? Who was wearing those prints when that happened? So it kind of brings up this whole
some real
possession
questions
thing
here.
again.
So I mentioned that scene with Tammy. Did you want to say anything about that further before we move on?
No, I mean, that was a fun scene just to see. I got the impression that Tammy was in researching Cooper and going through all of this. I kind of felt this moment of like, I don't know what you would say, but admiration for Cooper. We know that Tammy is a young FBI agent.
Yeah.
And we know that Cole has kind of given her a shot where others would not have.
Yeah.
In his discussion with Denise that we've gone through, where Cole has basically said Tammy's got the stuff.
Yeah.
And him having to say that maybe makes me think that other people did not think that she did.
Maybe.
But she's young, and she's going through this stuff, and she's working for Cole, he's the director of the FBI now.
Yep.
And as she's going through this stuff, she's going through all of the paperwork of one of the best agents, one of the coolest agents.
But then
Dale Cooper.
also comparing it with this information of Mr. C, because they've been to visit him in prison now, right?
Correct.
So she's got those two pictures of the old Coop and then Mr. C, and I think you can also in this scene get her, if you try to read her mind or her face, that she's maybe thinking about that difference, right? And this. We talked about her reaction to Mr. C in prison and his, almost demonic comportment. So all of that's in the background here. Pretty brief scene, but interesting.
And this is something that would give us a chance to talk about Secret History for a second. So spoilers out there if anybody is still wanting to read the book. A bit into Secret History of Twin Peaks, we find out that Tammy Preston is actually the one that is going through this dossier, right?
Right. And, the other day when we were talking, we pointed out also something about the dates here, right? On the jacket, it indicates that the dossier was found at a crime scene. I think it was July 17th, 2016. So there's a question about what is the date in the return where we're at now. If it were 25 years later, technically that should put us only at 2014, probably. So are they fudging things here a little bit? I guess that's one way it could be read. The other is, though, since Frost in the Secret History did give us that date, it might be the case that we've not yet seen that crime scene, or Tammy maybe has not yet gotten this dossier.
Yeah, that's my question right now. Actually, is she gone through that before this or not?
I think it would be more consistent to think that she hasn't actually. Although at the beginning I was thinking that she had.
Well, I wonder if at some point we're gonna, in the return, if we're gonna find the dossier and see the scene where Cole assigns Tammy to go through it.
I wonder about that too. I'm definitely
that would be
eagle-eyed
exciting.
at this point
Yeah.
for any indication as to what the calendar date is in any episode of The Return.
Right.
Even what year it is.
Mm-hmm.
Because if she doesn't get that dossier until July of 2016, I'm curious about whether that's before or after what we're seeing now.
Okay, so also, what about, let's talk about music from this episode for a second.
Right, so we do get a musical performance at the Roadhouse again, but unlike the previous episodes, it's not at the very end.
Mm-hmm.
It's a little bit before the end. We get the man Trouble performing Snake Eyes, which is an instrumental, so nothing to say about the lyrics here. But it's a cool sort of rockin', bluesy tune. I enjoy it.
This has the sax player blow in, and it has a couple electric guitars on it.
Right, and the guitarist actually is David Lynch's son, Riley Lynch. Maybe we should note that. But also, in this instance, it provides the background to an actual scene with dialogues. Things happen in the Roadhouse while Trouble is performing. And most significantly, we get this guy sitting in the booth smoking a cigarette right in front of the no smoking sign. Right?
Which is Trouble.
That's Trouble, yeah. And this is something we only get in the credits, is the name of this character.
Correct. And this spawned a lot of curiosity and a lot of discussions online right after this episode.
Yeah.
We find out his name is what?
Richard Horn.
Richard Horn.
Richard Horn.
So we have another Horn from the Horn family.
Right. So immediately people are wondering who are Richard's parents. I guess both parents are open questions here. Right.
Could this be Audrey's son?
And could
it actually be Ben Horn's son?
Or Jerry's son?
Could be, yeah.
I guess it could be Johnny's son. Right. But his last name is Horn. So if it is Audrey's son, then who's the father? Right. Because we'd be dealing with a son then with his mother's last name.
Correct.
So there's been a good amount of speculation going on about that out in the world since people noticed this. And that's, again, maybe one of the biggest things that we've only gotten in the credits here, who this guy is.
Quite disturbing scene as well. So, just to run through it real quickly, we see him sitting there smoking. One of the staff members comes up to him and tells him not to smoke.
Yeah, but Deputy Chad steps in.
Deputy Chad. And Deputy Chad is the guy from the sheriff's office who's
he's
being
in
rude to
street
Andy.
clothes here. Yeah. He's the one, he was making fun of the log lady and says, I'm going to go see and talk to my pine cone.
Yeah.
That guy. But he steps in, but rather than making Richard put a cigarette out, he asks him for a cigarette. And Richard hands him a pack and says, keep the whole pack. And when he opens it, there is a wad of money in there. You see a $100 bill.
Yeah.
So it appears Chad is dirty.
Yeah, good chunk of change. He's taking a bribe.
That's the reading here. Yeah.
Young Richard Horn, whomever he is buying off the local police department, basically. Or at least part of the police department.
Right, but he keeps smoking. And then the young woman from the booth over, Charlotte, comes and asks him for a light. And he basically sexually assaults her. I mean...
This is quite disturbing too,
really pretty disturbing.
Yeah.
He seems pretty evil. He's sort of choking her. He's saying really disgusting things about fucking her. And, I mean, it's very vulgar and very disturbing.
Yeah, quite vulgar. Says, I think something along the lines of, do you want me to fuck you? And then he also says, I'm going to laugh while I fuck you.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, no one's reacting, interceding. And also, this character doesn't protest, really. She's under the control of this asshole, basically.
I
right?
thought she protested a bit, and I thought her friends weren't too cool about what was going on. But
But she's not screaming, saying, I'm being assaulted here, even when she's in a chokehold.
Not to others, not to people outside of the situation.
Right.
Which they are in a bar. But the power dynamics there, the power is clearly resting with Richard in the situation.
It sets him up like he's one of these guys that thinks he can anyway do whatever he wants to do without any repercussions. And
just disturbing.
Sort of one reason or another, it seems like that's true.
Right. And as you watch it, you might think, who is this guy? But again, you have to pay attention to the credits, and maybe you have to look it up on IMDb or something with the actor's name here, Eamon Farron, to see, this is Richard Horne. So it's just this connection to the Horne family.
Yeah, and if there is, it possibly speaks that he comes from money. He's just given the local sheriff's department several $100 bills. So we know he has money. We know he's not a nice guy, and we know he's a Horne.
Entitled little prick.
Yeah. And at the same time, this is all during the soundtrack, like you mentioned. It's where they're playing Trouble, right?
Well, the band is called Trouble, yeah. And that bluesy music.
Yeah. Do we know the title of the piece? What is it?
It was Snake Eyes.
Snake Eyes, I see. Even more so.
Yeah.
Okay, I gotcha. But yeah, quite a disturbing scene, and also a setup for, who's this character?
And I found it interesting, too, that they pushed the musical scene forward a little bit. They're starting to subvert our expectations, right?
Correct.
Maybe we started to get settled into this thought that we're going to end at the Roadhouse with the song each time.
Right.
But here we go to the Roadhouse for a song, but we're not done because we still have to go to Mr. C's phone call.
Right.
So let's talk about
So
that.
yeah, even something in setting that up to set it up for the expectation that it's going to end, maybe just to mess with us, maybe just to throw off our kind of linear clock of what we're watching.
Right, so maybe you start thinking, this is going to be the end of the episode, but it's not.
So from that scene, actually, we get to Tammy's office, and we've discussed that a little bit.
That's right, yeah.
And then straight from Tammy's office, then we're jumping back to the prison in South Dakota with Evil Coop.
Right, so Mr. C's finally going to get his private phone call that Gordon Cole wants to know all about.
Correct, yeah.
The first thing that struck me here, Mike, was that when the warden brings him the phone, Mr. C says, thank you, Warden Murphy. He knows the warden's name. You can kind of see throughout the scene the warden's freaked out by a few things. And I think that's the first one. It's very subtle.
Right.
You kind of have to think about the fact that there would be no reason for this prisoner to know the warden's name, I don't think.
Yeah.
Right? It's not like when you go to prison, you get introduced to the warden on the first day.
Right.
So
he did use some of his tech to download some schematics and possibly other information about this prison.
Right, so probably it was in there, I'm guessing.
So, that gives him a heads up to be in this prison. So, but the scene itself is really striking, right? There's a couple other things that happen in the scene. So the warden goes out of the room and goes into the other room where they're observing him making the phone call.
And now that everyone's here.
And he says this, and now that everybody's here, but it gives you, again, like him estimating when the food will arrive. He has this understanding of what's going on even further out than the limits of his own senses.
Yeah.
So he can't witness that, but he knows exactly the moment when everybody's sitting there watching, ready to see his phone call.
Right, and then he talks about maybe calling Mr. Strawberry, but he doesn't think Mr. Strawberry's taking calls.
Yeah, and it seems like he's toying with the guys at that point, right?
Again,
he's
the warden looks freaked out at the mention of Mr. Strawberry.
And he says Mr. Strawberry's not taking calls, right? And says, I know who I'll call, right?
Right, so he dials some numbers, and then everything in the prison just starts freaking out, the lights and everything.
Yeah, it's like he's hacked into the mainframe, or he's overridden the system somehow. But the dialing that he does, too, is kind of extreme, right? It's fast.
It doesn't really look like he's dialing 7 digits or anything. Or 10
he's
digits.
dialing 25 digits as fast as a human
almost
could.
like he just put some code into the phone.
Yeah,
that
exactly.
made the prison tech wig out. And one thing I noticed, the monitors even, it was really quick, but they seem to be messed up. I swear it seemed to me like on one of them there was footage of a cooking show.
Yeah, it looks like a cooking show. I actually slowed that down and watched it a little closer. Seems like a cooking show in the aprons and kind of the garb that everybody's wearing, but it's not so clear.
Top Chef or something.
There's not like a counter covered in food either at the same time. It's this very interesting, like,
yeah, but it just
what are they up to there?
It definitely doesn't seem like prison footage unless they were having a cooking class in the cafeteria that day or something.
Exactly. Yeah. And so all the lights are flashing, and this is, again, one of the motifs of flashing lights or failing lights or extreme lighting.
He says the cow jumped over the moon.
Yeah, and so that's his call. We don't know exactly who he's called, but the message that he's giving them is the cow jumps over the moon.
Yeah, another reference to a kid's story or something like that, right?
This is an interesting thing to say. So his message is saying the cow jumped over the moon.
Right.
If you look it up, this is the nursery rhyme, right? Children's song, the full lyrics of which are, "Hey diddle diddle, the cat and the fiddle, the cow jumped over the moon." The very next line is, "The little dog laughed to see such fun, and the dish ran away with the spoon." Does that mean something? We have no idea. But we thought, let's look it up and see where that comes from.
I mean, of
There's
course,
a dog
I'm jumping to the
reference.
dog reference, but other than that, not entirely sure what to do with this.
But it's also, what does jumping over the moon actually signify, right? I mean, so it might be some hint to some space exploration plan or possibly ufology.
Yeah, it's a weird turn of phrase regardless.
We've
A
also
cow
seen
jumping over the moon.
Yeah, and we've also seen Cooper and Briggs represented in outer space.
Mm-hmm.
So it could have something in relation to that, but or it could just be some weird code that he's calling somebody. And with the crazy FBI codes and the different ways of reading each other and everything.
And certainly visually, it kind of seems like that because we cut to Buenos Aires and that black box or smartphone or whatever, and it beeps and then kind of turns into a little ball.
Right.
Right.
And this links back to what we saw earlier when we see Lorraine text Argent 2. I didn't make this connection until later.
Yeah.
Argent is Buenos Aires, Argentina, and the number 2. There's an understanding here that we're jumping to that scene, but we don't necessarily know for sure. Did Cooper call that?
You're right.
We have more of a connection to Lorraine sending that text to Argentina than
Yeah.
for the cow jumped over the moon.
We should maybe be careful, but at least it visually reads like this, as if maybe saying the cow jumped over the moon made that happen, but without understanding any of these elements, really, we should maybe be a little bit careful about that connection,
Correct.
just because we cut from one to the other.
And it's an interesting shot that happens. So there's a pan down, and we see that it's like this disheveled, dirty room down in Buenos Aires somewhere.
Yeah.
We do see books and files on shelves. It reminded me again of like Wyndham Earl in his cabin, locked up somewhere where he's got research files, but he's hiding.
Right.
And then we see this box, and what we see is the 2 lights, and we see the box actually do this maneuver where it shrinks down into a small piece of metal or something, right?
Kind of reminiscent of the ball we saw Dougie turn into.
Exactly. So if it's a similar effect, so that if that effect is created by the same technology or if it symbolizes the same thing, we don't know. But it did remind me of that.
And we should recall that Buenos Aires is where Philip Jeffries went in Fire Walk with Me.
When Philip Jeffries disappears, he's disappearing in Buenos Aires, Argentina.
Right,
So,
and,
since he's
and the missing pieces even, there is a bit of him reappearing in Buenos Aires, sort of through a wall, like kind of scorches the wall or something like that. So
Yep.
that's a connection.
Yeah,
to draw.
good call. And so, since Philip Jeffries is also a prime name going along with the storyline currently, this makes us think, okay, so is he reaching out to Philip Jeffries, who has his own research facility or just a hideout, if nothing else?
Yeah, they're certainly making us think about Philip Jeffries way more than I would have guessed before this started, given that David Bowie is dead and no longer with us and all of that. Yeah.
And how important is the character of Philip Jeffries to all of this?
Seems pretty important.
There is a part in the secret history of Twin Peaks where it is discovered Tammy comes across in this dossier a list of FBI agents' names. They're very careful to point out that there's nothing, there's no notes on it. It doesn't signify anything specific other than being a collection of their names. But the names include Sam Stanley, Chet Desmond, Gordon Cole, Dale Cooper, Albert. What's Albert's last name again? Rosenfield. And also Philip Jeffries.
Right.
And so the notes that Tammy's taking as she sees this list of names is what has befallen all of these agents and how many of them are involved kind of with what I'm thinking is the Blue Rose cases.
Right, that's what I was thinking here, is the connection seems to be Blue Rose.
Right.
Yeah.
And since that's what we have recently also seen Major Briggs in outer space flying over Coop
Blue
saying,
Rose.
so it seems like we might get a little more of a glimpse into what is a Blue Rose case. And this is, it doesn't get any bluer.
Indeed.
Right?
So we end this episode, as I think we mentioned a little while ago, not with music, but instead cutting back to Dougie, who's still standing outside the office building, looking at the statue, looking a bit melancholic, some kind of sad music plays and our credits roll.
Yeah, well, there's a security guard that does tell him, "Move along, champ."
Right, so the security guard comes and tells him he needs to move along. The credits roll, and basically that's a wrap on part 5.